Before I talk about Brazil, I want to talk about Mexico, because you sort of feel for them that since 1994, they've made every round of 16 and they haven't gone past it. They call it the curse of the fifth match. They've never got to that fifth match since 1994, and it's been, what, 24 years now? Yeah, it's starting to become a bit of a theme. Normally you look at history and you think, no, it's just in the past, it doesn't count for anything. But this is starting to become something that they can't shake off the back, to be honest. The more it goes on, the more it starts to become a little bit believable, and they'll be thinking that it's there to stay. I don't think this is as bad as some of the other ones. In the past, they've been quite close, last-minute penalties, decisions going against them, but this was a little bit more convincing. I don't think they can blame bad luck or history on this one. I think just on the day they were outplayed, and sometimes when you go out to the better side, it's easier to take. Okay, what for you was the defining bit in the Brazilian game plan today? The fact that they weathered the early storm, as you spoke about, or the fact that they kept a clean sheet? It's now 3 successive 2-0 victories for them at this World Cup after that 1-1 draw against Switzerland. I feel like they played better as a team. When they lost the ball, the attackers would come back, did a lot of work. While they lost the ball, and when they had the ball, they really worked off the ball as well. And you could see WION doing a lot. He was behind Coutinho, and the attack as well. They were the ones pushing the attack. So I would say a proper team combination and a proper team work rate that helped them get this. Talking about clean sheets, under Cheech, they haven't conceded too many in the 25 games he's been coach. What matters at a stage like this, go out there, get the goals, get the job done, minimum fuss, move on into the next round. Yeah, but like you say, you need a platform. I think before this game, the goalkeeper Alisson, he's only faced 2 shots because the defensive back line in front of him has been magnificent. Thiago Silva, Miranda have been really solid. Positional sense has been fantastic. And then Casemiro sat in front of the back 4. He's been the pivot of the midfield, the defensive pivot, and he's been covering a lot of ground, picking up a lot of second balls and giving insurance, really. The fullbacks are allowed to get forward because they know they've always got that added insurance of Casemiro sitting off. Likewise with Paulinho and Coutinho, they're allowed to go forward because one sitting holding midfielder is always there giving balance. So it's been them 3 really, plus obviously the intensity and the work rate of the whole side. Is that a worry for them now? The fact that Casemiro has picked up a second yellow card, he has to sit out of the next game. Is that something, especially if all goes to form, the fact that they end up playing Belgium, you think that's something which they will regret? Obviously, Casemiro has been a very important player for the kind of style that they're playing, but they have got Fernandinho, who's capable enough and they've just given an opportunity to come and play, so I can understand more of the situation and what it's going to be like. So I feel like he's a great substitute for Casemiro. Is that why you saw him immediately as soon as Casemiro picked up the second yellow card? Cheech threw him on because he wanted him to get some solid game time. I think he's been coming on in most of the games, to be honest. He's had 20 odd minutes in all the games they've had. What they normally do is when they go in front, they normally play in the midfield. They play a 3, they play a 1, and then they have 2 attackers. But as soon as they go in front, last 10 or 15, 20 minutes, they put Fernandinho on to sit alongside Casemiro, and then they have 2 sitters, and they just allow 1 to go into the hole. So they change the system slightly and have 2 covering midfielders. So they always kind of do that. It's a bit of a pattern they've been doing throughout the tournament. When you look at the stats, it will say Neymar all the way. But initially, as I was asking Eugene as well, they weathered a lot of early storm. How did they get back into the game, Ashley? Perhaps you could show it to us on your tactical board. Did you pick something up? Because initially you felt it was Mexico all the way, but once Brazil started to get a hold of things, especially in midfield, it was a different game. I think, to be honest, it was possibly the substitutions that's altered the game, really. I mean, both teams started in this 4-3-3. We didn't expect that from Mexico, and it was obviously Marquez that sat at the point of their diamond, where you got Casemiro sat on the opposite side. So that was instrumental. At half-time, Marquez went off, but the reason they was doing that was because when Brazil had the ball, all of a sudden they can press the midfielders, and if the ball came into midfield like this, there'd be a little bit of rotation in midfield. It would be one of the midfielders push on, Marquez would flatten out. So they gave themselves like a 3v3 situation in the middle of the park, and that was really working first half. Everywhere else, everyone's pretty even numbers all over the pitch. You've got the full-backs marking your wingers on both sides. One centre forward would take care of the 2 central defenders, and obviously wingers would mark full-backs. And that was kind of the game plan. But like I say, Marquez went off, and then second half, obviously, it started to open up. And then obviously the reason why
Brazil came into the game was really just down to individual brilliance. Either WION on the right-hand side, in this kind of position, or over on the right-hand side that we've seen, and obviously Neymar on the left-hand side. But what they did very, very well, both of them, to be honest, was they both made those out runs. They were causing a threat in these positions. WION would go down the outside a little bit more than Neymar. But if we think back to the goal, you know, Neymar's come inside, he's drove inside. WION's actually ran all the way across him, took the ball off Neymar as a back heel. Neymar's ran into the box and obviously got his shot off with a cross from WION. Yeah. So I think it was the interchange of the wide men and the individual. So it's more Marquez going off, changing that stability in the middle of the park, and obviously the wingers taking the game to Mexico.
Neymar went to PSG because he wants to win the Ballon d'Or, he wants to win the FIFA Best Player of the Year award, Eugeneson. The kind of performance he's now showing, this is the kind of performances which people remember, especially at a World Cup. And we didn't see too much of him in the first game, but then he started to grow as he's got more game time under his belt as well. He's managed to, you know, get the headlines, and that's what he wants.
Oh, with all the hype about Neymar and his qualities that he got, obviously, everyone expects him to succeed. Everyone expects him to do everything, dribble 2, 3, 4 players and all that. But it's a stage where I feel it's hard to do, you know. I mean, the World Cup is kind of tough. Teams focusing on Neymar, focusing on his ability. So actually indirectly giving focus to other players to play, Coutinho or WION. But I feel he's stepping up and he's taking the weights on his shoulders, and obviously he performs like this, he'll be a contender, sure.
Yes, and looking at some numbers of Neymar on our screens, he suffered the most number of fouls than any other player in this World Cup. He's created the most number of chances than any other player in this World Cup. These are the kind of stats which, when you see the game, and at times you see that, you know, not much, the scoreline's 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 1-1, you think not much is happening, but he's been doing a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I mean, he's a marked man, isn't he? You know, if you think about players you need to stop to beat Brazil, he's obviously going to be one of them. He drops deep to get the ball. He's always asking questions. He tries to take people on. So he's susceptible to the odd foul. You know, you're not going to let Neymar skip past you. If you've got a chance to foul him and take him down, if you can't take the ball, you do that. So I think he brings it on himself, but that's the way he plays. And obviously, he's got to accept that that's what's going to happen. If you are one of the top players, somehow you've got to try and stop him. So he's going to get kicked at time to time.
Okay, talking about another important decision which perhaps Cheech has to make going into the next game. Gabriel Jesus, good season for Man City, not exactly been setting the World Cup on fire. Bobby Firmino of Liverpool and now of Brazil actually coming in, scoring that goal at the end. With every game, do you think that Jesus, his time is slipping away? That is a case now for Firmino to start?
I feel his confidence is low right now. He's played as many games, but he hasn't done well. And Firmino coming on has really done well. His stats have shown that he's got a lot of shots on target as well, and he's come on today, scored a goal. But as a coach or as a player, I feel Firmino now would be a best bet to go ahead in this tournament.
Okay, Ashley, Brazil have in fact set another record. They've reached the 18th quarterfinal with this one, and that takes them ahead of Germany, who had 17. Do you think that the momentum is gradually building? You know, we all know what happened last time in 2014. We will win it, we will win the sixth, we will win the sixth, and then we know how that ended. But they've done it very well. They've got fans excited, but they haven't got fans really excited with some scintillating football. They've just about gradually raised expectations.
Yeah, I think the first game they played, 20 minutes, was good, fast football. They've had good individual performances. Like you say, they are growing in confidence. But I think what they did today, which was quite impressive, is they played with a good intensity. Even the passing was nice and crisp. They passed it fast. If you think back to the Spain game yesterday, you know, they had 1,000 and odd passes, but it was just so slow, patient build-up, where Brazil always seems to be playing it at full throttle. And I think that's a little bit of a difference they've got. You know, if it goes into Neymar, he tries to attack people. If it goes into WION, he's doing things at pace. Jesus sprints as well. There's a lot more evident sprinting from the Brazilian side than some of the others. So I think they are hitting the ground running just at the right time.